Welcome to this short series on the book called The Skeptical Student. Let me explain what this series is all about, especially for those of you who have never done a series before like this. It's a 2-week study for small groups. So just 2 simple week commitment. That's all it is. And we're going to be going through the book, The Skeptical Student by Timothy Keller. Encourage you to pick up that booklet. It's less than a couple bucks on Amazon.com on your Kindle or on a Kindle app on your phone or on your laptop. And it's a great short read. Probably read the whole thing in less than an hour. Really a thought-provoking book. So I encourage you to pick that up first and read that even before you watch these videos together. And then each week has 3 short videos to help you process the book. So this one is the first of 3 videos for this first lesson. And we'll continue on next week with 3 more videos just like it. And each video is going to end with a question for discussion. So let's get to the book, The Skeptical Student, Encounters with Jesus series. The author writes that this essay is based on the first of a series of talks that he gave in Oxford, England in 2012. A campus group asked him to speak for 5 nights to students, and most of them were skeptics. And maybe you feel like, yeah, that's perfect because maybe you're a skeptic. This is great. If you're skeptical about Christianity, religion in general, then this is the series and this is the book for you. And here's what the author is going to do. He's going to explore encounters that Jesus Christ had with 5 individuals in the Bible, in the Gospel of John, which is the 4th gospel in the New Testament. And here's what he says. He says, in these encounters that Jesus has with these people, we see addressed the big meaning of life questions. And here are these questions. Who are we? Why are we here? Why be a good person? Why love instead of hate? What's wrong with the world? And what, if anything, can make it right? Now, maybe you've thought about these questions before. Maybe you haven't. We're going to actually come back to this at the end of this video to think and talk about this. But let's continue on. He talks about the French philosopher Luc Ferry, who is not a Christian. And in his book, A Brief History of Thought, Luc Ferry admits that people cannot really basically live without any hope or meaning, even non-religious people. That you can't really live without conviction that some things are more worth doing with our lives than others. The author goes on and says, so we know that we do have to have answers to these big questions in order, as Ferry puts it, to live well and therefore freely, capable of joy, generosity, and love. And so this is even from the perspective of a non-Christian philosopher, and the author is going to refer back to Ferry's thoughts throughout this little booklet. Now, Ferry goes on to argue that almost all of our possible answers to those big philosophical issues come from 5 or 6 major systems of thought. So, for example, do you think it's generally a good idea to be kind to your enemies and reach out to them rather than kill them? Well, Ferry says that this idea that you should love your enemies came from Christianity and nowhere else. And so really it's worth studying, even from a societal point of view. It's worth studying and understanding Christianity. So if we want to be thoughtful, if we want to be sure that we're developing good answers to the fundamental questions, then we need to, at the very least, become deeply acquainted with the teachings of Christianity, and especially with its founder, Jesus Christ. And the best way to do that is to see how he explained who he was and what he was all about to the people that he encountered. And that's exactly what the author in this book is going to do, starting with the first character we're going to meet in the next video. But before we get to that, why don't you just hit pause, and if you're doing this as a group, and discuss some of these big meaning of life questions. Talk a little bit about them. Do you feel like you've asked these questions before? Talk about maybe whether you think you have answers to these questions. Do that for a minute together, and then when you're done with that, we'll see you in the next video.